Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome to another Blood Splattered vlog. Though not really Blood Splattered this time, because we're going to talk about Star Wars!
Star Wars! Nothing but Star Wars!
So, as the title of this video obviously says, we just saw Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and we have a lot of thoughts about it, but before we get into the huge spoilers, because believe me, there's a lot to spoil in this, we're just going to briefly talk about, our capsulated, spoiler-free thoughts. So,
Oh, by the way, I'm Count Jackula, and with us today is our friend Morgan, who's wearing a Star Wars dress.
It's appropriate. It's appropriate.
I am nothing if not a paragon of high fashion.
There you go. Alrighty then.
It's a terrible burden to be this glamorous.
So, ladies first, capsulated spoiler-free thoughts?
Capsulated spoiler-free thoughts. There was one thing I want... This movie has a hump to get over. It is...
I would agree.
It is a film that needs to... It's a story that, quote-unquote, didn't need to be told. It's
true.
It doesn't have any space wizards or princesses in it. It doesn't have... It needs... It's a very... Okay. I'm sucking pretty bad at this. So I'm just going to say, the movie needed to do the thing. The movie did the thing.
That's good. That's good. Whatever the thing is.
The thing is the thing that the movie needed to do. And I'm like, okay. I feel like I got more of the story. I feel like it expanded the universe. I feel more connected to the galaxy far, far away. Now that I have seen this and know what happened. It does, and it makes A New Hope, I mean, it's hard to make A New Hope, one of the best films ever made, mean more to people.
It actually does complement it, though.
It does.
Yes. It actually
really
does.
well.
There are small little things that happen in this that actually do complement the other movies, which is, if you're gonna do a side story like this of something that happened in the past, then you best make it actually, add to the mythology and add to the mythos.
Yeah.
I think my encapsulation pretty much mimics Morgan's, which is this movie does not start smoothly. It's really rickety in the beginning, and there are a lot of times where you're like, oh crap, this is going to completely fall apart. But by the time we get to the second half of the movie, it's firing on all cylinders.
Oh, I would have to
and
agree.
It's just working beautifully.
Yeah. Like the first act of this movie to me felt like it was trying to cram a whole lot of information into such a short amount of time and catch everyone up to speed while also reminding them of what was going on at this period in this universe. That there was points where I got a little lost in the beginning. And there was also two characters I ended up mixing up at one point. I actually completely mixed up the defector from Rep.
Oh yeah.
I mixed him
the
up.
Former TIE fighter.
Yeah, I mixed that guy up with the rebel infiltrator guy.
Yeah.
Really early on in the story, and it wasn't until about halfway through I'm like when they're actually together, I was like, oh shit, those are two different characters. I completely
I there were several times when I made that same mistake.
And it was just a result of so many things happening so fast at once and trying to cram all this information into this tight space so that we can get all these pieces into place to tell this story.
Yeah. And if it sounds like a lot of the criticism is coming now, despite the fact that we really like the movie, it's because all the criticisms are in the first half and the second half is spoiler territory.
Because once all the pieces get together and you get all these characters together and they're going on the mission, so to speak, which I think at this point the trailer already told us that.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
well, there's
a
very specific point in the narrative where they kind of just let the movie go.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much smooth sailing from there.
Absolutely.
And by the time you get to the climax, you're like, I am in this.
Like, there are parts of the second half that, to me, were better than parts of Force Awakens, and I love Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it was really obvious, you said when we came out of the movie, which was, despite the fact that this movie has member berries out the ass, it still did something with Star Wars we hadn't done before.
Yeah.
The main plot is a different type of story, and a lot of the difficulties and a lot of the weird tone shifts that happen are as a result of it kind of having to serve two masters. One is, it's a Star Wars story. That means epic fantasy adventure. The other thing is that it's a war movie a la Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
And there are
suicide mission.
Yes, it's about a suicide mission.
Yeah, and you are quite literally down in the dirt with these people.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
oh yeah.
And the explosions are going off, and there's a point where you're like, this, and it feels like one of those war movies where they just keep hammering you.
Oh yeah, shit just keeps happening.
Right down to the camaraderie between the characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feels very much like people stuck in the trenches together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also kind of just love that ground level perspective, which is obviously something that Gareth Edwards brought to the movie because
he
he did that with Godzilla and he did that with monsters. And as a result, you really get to kind of get the feel of what it's like to live in war-torn poverty under the Empire.
Yeah.
You know, because they go to these this like one the last remaining temple of
The last remaining Jedi temple.
And like outside of it is just this squalor, just this complete cesspool of living.
Very obviously based off of like either Calcutta or like Constantinople.
Yeah.
And they're like walking through it and you get all these little glimpses of what it's like under this empire, like straight up, like they even had like propaganda.
Yeah.
Like little video like holograms that were like announcing like
posters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
they have like stormtroopers shoving civilians around.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you got to see the actual rebels being rebels and like assaulting caravans and stuff like that.
But they brought more nuance to the rebellion than you usually see.
Yeah, it's a lot grayer. It's still pretty black and white, but there's a shade of gray that this movie
They
brings.
created two factions.
Yeah.
There's the Alliance.
Yeah, which is run by Mon Mothma
Absolutely.
and Bail Organa,
So,
and seems to be more in the style of the Old Republic. And in fact, I think they're even called like the Alliance to Restore the Republic.
Something to that effect, yeah.
And then there's Saw Gerrera's people.
Which is very much based on Che Guevara and like...
That is obviously where they got it. And this guy
they are the rebel forces.
Yes.
You know.
And they're the rebel forces that aren't afraid to go to the dark levels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The full on like fucking
full on like guerrilla
terrorism.
Yeah.
They like the rebel forces commit acts of terrorism.
Yeah, it actually reminded me. There's a sequence early in the movie that reminds me of something you'd see out of Northern Ireland in the 70s, where they're like You've got soldiers in tanks. You've got like fire bombs coming at them. You've got like it's ugly. It's a very, very gritty.
I will say, like in the first half, the one scene I think worked perfectly was actually the prologue.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The introduction of the villain and the hero.
Yeah.
Worked really well. It's once we jump forward in time and start like setting the stage for the world as it is right now.
Yeah.
Which is essentially reminding us what it was like when A New Hope started.
My theory there is that they were aware at a certain point that they either needed to it was either sacrifice the beginning, the first act to save the other two acts, or have a great first act and know that no one's going to have a clue what's going on in at the finale.
Which would have been a huge risk.
And if that's just my own mental theory, but if that is the case, I think they made the right choice.
Yeah, there were some times when the plot was a little at odds with the storytelling in the beginning, because there definitely are a lot of scenes where you're like, I am telling you this right now because I have to deliver this information to you.
Yes.
You need this information at this point in the story, and we have no other way of delivering it.
And you need to arbitrarily not believe this totally true information I'm giving you for no reason other than plot. Yeah. I need to still be here later.
Yeah.
That being said, it's nowhere near as clunky as something like Suicide Squad.
Oh no.
But I will agree that I mean the prologue was just great.
Oh god, that opening, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the opening of Inglourious Bastards in a weird way, but not nearly as like
it's not nearly that good, you know.
But it kind of reminded me where you have like the person on the farm and like the Nazis have shown up.
Yeah.
It's like,
it means a lot more if you've read Rogue One Catalyst,
Oh, interesting.
Which is all about the relationship. Very, very complicated, long-standing friendship / enemy between Galen and Orson.
Oh, okay.
Where they met they basically met in college when they were teenagers, and these two have had... There's a lot of history there.
Now,
and
is this part of the old expanded universe? Or
no.
Like
this is a new novel.
Okay.
This is a new novel,
stuff.
and it's all basically about Orson Krennic and then the Urso family and how they reached this particular point. And it's... Let's put it this way. They met when they were like 19 years old. There's a reason Galen doesn't call him by his first name anymore.
Got it.
Well, the thing is that you don't need to read whatever that is.
Right. To get that these...
Because I got the impression that they were old friends who had a falling out. Obviously something to do with the Empire. And now they're kind of... And now they're kind of at odds. But I think at this point we're starting to get into like the actual nitty-gritty of the movie. So maybe we should move on to the spoilers.
Oh, boy. Okay, before we start spoilers, is there anything else anybody wants to say?
I actually really like the movie. I recommend it.
Me too.
It is definitely... it's absolutely heads and shoulders above any of the 3 prequels.
Oh, God,
despite any of its flaws.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. And unlike other Star Wars, like, side stuff they've done before, I actually think it's heads and shoulders.
Oh, yeah. This holds up way better than, like,
the
some
Ewok
of
movies, as
than
much
the
as I
Ewok
love
movies,
them.
Or,
As much as
or
I love-
even, like, fucking those, the Clone Wars cartoons that everyone keeps telling me to watch, but I'm like, I don't give a shit.
They're so good, though.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Clone Wars cartoon. Well, I will say it's clear that it's if you're watching Star Wars Rebels, there's a few cameos.
I've wanted to see that, but I haven't yet.
There's at least like one really big cameo in the movie.
So clearly this is part of the larger universe.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
they're going
they're doing a
full
good
bore
job
into this new
filling
expanded
this
universe
in.
thing.
But the
Yeah.
fact that I had not seen Star Wars Rebels and it didn't like stick out that there was things I was supposed to know.
Oh, no, not at all.
No. It's not like, hey, there's that person. Like, no.
Yeah.
No. Everybody has a reason to be there.
Absolutely.
Well, everyone who's an actual character. There are tons, like I said, this movie's got member berries out the ass.
Yeah.
Like, R2-D2 shows up for
No reason.
But the thing is, it's like 2 different approaches, because like The Force Awakens like stuck so close to A New Hope.
Yeah.
That it almost felt like we were, as good as that movie is, it almost felt like we were retreading old ground.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie has member berries, has little moments of like, remember this, remember that, but the core
Milk.
of the movie,
Yeah, the
Blue
core
Milk?
of it is different.
it feels like
Yeah.
a different story is told in that universe.
Yeah.
And so like the member berries just feel like, oh, just reminding you that we're still in Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so it works.
Yeah.
And also to set the period in which this is supposed to take place.
Yeah.
'Cause there's certain things where you're like, well, if you're dealing with this during this period, then the guy should probably show up at some point.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, we might as well have this dude show up.
Anyway, let us move on to the spoilers.
Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Alrighty then. So,
You
anyone want
wanna
to start?
You should start us off.
All right, I should start this off. Okay. I want to start off with some positive stuff. I really like the main character of this.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
she's really good.
Like,
Yeah, she's
she
great.
is just this awesome, like,
Just like this weird half-feral child.
yeah.
who's-
Well, what I like about her is where she sits within the narrative, where she is obviously rebel chick with tortured past,
yeah.
but she also kind of recognizes how authoritarian the rebellion itself
Yeah,
is.
she doesn't want anything to do with either side.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
she's been
wants to
screwed
stay out of
over
it.
by both sides.
Absolutely.
And she doesn't see like, the whole war itself has brought her nothing but pain.
So she's kind of caught in this like weird like what do you call it, like a like
Crossroads or
yeah,
purgatory.
like
Purgatory.
a crossroads or a purgatory.
Yeah, she's just
to
trying to
where-
survive day to day.
Yeah,
and-
where basically her main concern is to live to the next day.
Yeah.
And the rebellion and all that stuff, they're just constantly getting in the way and trying to rope her in, and she doesn't want nothing to do with it. And obviously by the end of the story, she finds something worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that because I could so relate to that character more than like the typical chosen hero character.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
Don't buy
absolutely.
the propaganda that says this is Rey 2.0. She's a very different character.
Completely different character.
God, no.
Yeah.
Completely different character. Like this one, this character...
She's got so much more damage.
Yes.
She's very, very different than Rey.
And she's not like the normal smiling hero. This is the one who, like, does what needs to get done, but really just wants more than anything to not be involved.
Yeah, this is a type of main heroine that you used to see a lot more in like 90s anime.
Actually, yes. I was thinking that. I was thinking of stuff like Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, sort of gruff. It's not even like
she reminded me of the main character in Doomsday a little bit.
Yeah. There's a bit of.
Although that woman had it way more together.
Yes, way more together overall
than Jin. Jin still manages to have like that core of vulnerability where
she's still 18.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, a 30-year-old woman who's been a military
I think I think if you look at the dates, she's supposed to be 22 or 23 or something
that would make
like
sense.
that.
Yeah.
It should be.
But I really liked that I was actually so invested in the emotional core of her story to the point like she starts crying because she sees her dad and she realizes her dad is not that bad and like I'm sitting there starting to tear up in the theater.
That whole scene where like he finally spills his guts out to her and she sees it and you realize what a crapshoot this must have felt like to him because he had no guarantee she would ever get this.
We gotta explain something.
Yeah.
Jin's father is the designer of the Death Star.
Which is why she's roped into this.
Specifically, he is the designer of the Death Star's super laser.
Yeah.
Because he was a researcher who specialized in kyber crystals. Mm-hmm. And after after Order 66 came down, suddenly there were a whole bunch of kyber crystals that don't have owners anymore. And he was instrumental.
Because the kyber crystal is the part of
core,
the lightsaber.
The core. It's called the living crystal. It is at the core of every Jedi's lightsaber.
So basically, the Death Star is a giant lightsaber.
Basically, and they
which I thought was kind of an interesting twist.
And he thought he was researching because the Death Star was so secret. All of the research was compartmentalized. This is all from Catalyst, by the way.
Well, that's not too different than the way the actual government has done it in the past.
Yeah.
So they didn't. He thought he was working on using kyber crystals to generate cheap energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he all of a sudden realizes, wait, this is a doomsday weapon. You asked me to build a doomsday weapon.
Yeah.
I can't do this. So he runs off with his family, but they're all like, that guy knows fucking state secrets and we need him to finish the fucking Death Star. Fuck that guy. We're gonna go there, we're gonna capture him, we're gonna fucking kill his family, kill anyone that gets in our goddamn way, take him back.
The fact that what got me though, is the fact that Orson's like, they have a child, find it. And I'm like, she was a few days old the first time you ever met her. It just shows how far they've come from what their relationship used to be. Yeah.
You can tell, like, the movie doesn't hint that they had a deeper relationship any more than like these guys have just known each other for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, the fact that he knew she had a kid kind of told me that they were.
Well, they did have that flashback to the apartment, and we see that they're drinking and like some sort of dinner party is going on. So.
Oh, dude, the biggest. This is only kind of a spoiler, but I wanted to save it for this. The moment where I was like, "Holy shit!" We could only make this movie now, which was. Grand Moff Tarkin is a major character in this story.
I love that.
Whoa.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Holy shit.
I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it because, there are some moments...
Even though apparently Peter Cushing smelled of lavender and clean linen.
Yeah. So, basically, here's the thing that's freaky about it. If you saw Tron Legacy, you will remember... young Jeff Bridges and how that really didn't work. Well, here's the thing. Bringing Peter Cushing back, that worked. It worked here.
Yeah.
Well, because outside of a couple shots, it looks photoreal.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple
really
shots.
does.
Well, they helped it in that it wasn't... you could see that they got an actor who was as close to a physical match to Peter Cushing as they could find, and they digitally painted over his face in order to get the performance. And it looks, you get the point. It looks good. It looks good. You're not going to be in the uncanny valley for very much.
And it was you who was thinking that they probably did with him what they did with Tupac in
where they combined actor, voice actor, and CG.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the guy did the voice, nailed it.
Yeah.
He completely nailed it.
Yeah, I want to know if that's Stephen Stanton, because Stephen Stanton is the veteran Clone Wars voice actor who was also... He was the voice of the Mon Calamari Admiral.
Oh, nice.
Who is from Rebels.
Nice.
So I think he was also uncredited. He may have been uncredited, but I think he was also doing the voice of Tarkin.
Well, I did read that there's a lot of voice actors working on this movie because of roles like that.
Yeah.
With the exception of they actually did get what's his name to do Darth Vader again, I believe.
Well, James Earl Jones. Yeah. That's the other thing. Darth Vader fucking comes back in this movie.
Darth Vader is at his Darthiest, most Vaderiest.
You get to the end of the movie because you know it's got to link up with the New Hope, and they just straight up do it like fucking no. Here we are. Leia's ship is going off into the fucking distance. Fucking Darth Vader is like, oh no, bitch, you are mine! And chases after him, is fucking killing dudes in this corridor. And you're like, good God, Darth Vader is terrifying!
Yeah, and that's Darth Vader is throwing dudes around like rag dolls. Like, he barely has to break his stride to just...
Yeah, he's just cutting dudes down. If a guy annoys him, he just breaks his neck, fucking throws a guy on the ceiling, you're like,
doesn't
holy
even
fucking
think about it.
Crap!
Just like, you're barely a speed bump to this Darth Vader. He
doesn't give a fuck. It's just like, oh my God, he's terrifying. And they brought back the aspect of Darth Vader that I didn't realize was missing from all the fucking prequels, which is his fucking evil sense of humor.
Sure, absolutely.
Because the minute there's a moment where a guy starts force choking a dude.
He's not even looking at the dude.
He doesn't even look at him. He's
the dude's mid-sentence, and suddenly the dude goes like...
And then Darth Vader is like, I hope you are not choking on your own ambitions, Commander. And it's like, oh my God, I miss this.
Yeah. It was that moment more than anything felt like, oh shit, Vader's back.
He's back. Yeah.
You know what? This is the spoiler territory, so we might as well say it. It's Krennic. Krennic is the one who's getting force choked.
Yeah.
And should I tell the story?
But yeah, if you want to, go ahead.
Okay. The story is that was one of the first scenes that they were shooting, just chronologically. And Ben Mendelsohn, who plays director Krennic, is like huge Star Wars fan from way back. And Gareth Edwards was there with the camera on his shoulder, and he knows that Ben is so relaxed and just jokey when he's in front of a camera, but he's got this thing where he can just turn it on and become super threatening. So Gareth was waiting for that, and they're doing the scene with Darth Vader, and Ben's like, "Boss, need to talk to you in the corner." So it's like needs to talk to him privately for a minute. So director's like, okay, and they go off together into the corner, and he's like, oh crap, here it comes the moment. And Ben Mendelsohn looks at him, glances at Darth Vader, goes, and the director goes, they just have like this silent
geek out moment.
Complete geek out moment. Silent scream.
How could
with
you
each
not?
other.
Oh God!
Like I'm sitting there looking at that Darth Vader costume. I'm like, man, Darth Vader has never looked better. Like
yeah. And they didn't. And the thing I liked about it is some of the costumes have been updated.
Yeah,
but
like
for
the
Vader,
Stormtrooper helmets now.
Yeah, a little updated. Some of the outfits look a little bit.
They still
better.
can't shoot for shit.
Yeah, they still can't shoot. But God damn it, like they decided no. Darth Vader costume needs to look exactly like it did in the 70s with that fucking clunky ass helmet with the giant seam on it. I'm sitting there and I'm like, mwah, mwah,
perfect.
No, perfect. Don't touch it.
It's fucking beautiful. But we completely glossed over when he was talking about that ending scene that it's young Leia.
Yes.
Oh my! They digitally created a young Leia who looks great.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it because I was like, okay, well, obviously they're gonna, it's not gonna be actual Carrie Fisher because she's way too old at this point. She can't play the girl she was in the 70s.
No.
And then she turns around and I'm like, oh shit, you've been doing that whole movie.
Absolutely.
I forgot.
Forgot.
Absolutely.
Got magical powers now.
And those are some of the better Memberberry stuff.
Yeah.
The Leia, the Tarkin, the Darth Vader.
And by the way, guys, you can right now put to rest any idea that Jyn is Rey's mother.
Oh God, no. Oh yeah, everyone dies in this movie.
Yeah.
Total party
kill.
Like, I mean, if you... Basically,
Jyn dies.
At the end, they learn to stop worrying and love the bomb.
Oh, yeah.
That shot was so beautiful.
Yeah.
My favorite part about that shot is at the end of the movie when they're sitting there embracing as the explosion's coming near them. There's this one kid behind us who was just like, Mommy, what happened? And I'm just like, oh, she's got a harsh lesson coming later.
Yeah, heroes don't always live, kid.
Sometimes the heroes don't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of knew that it was that it wasn't going to end well when they killed Donnie Yen's character because there was
man,
one
we haven't
guy...
even mentioned
That's
that.
right.
Dude.
Yeah, guys, let's go through the characters one by one.
Yeah. Well,
you start with Jyn.
When they're in Jeddah, obviously the planet for which the Jedi are kind of named, and they're digging the carbide crystals out of the temple. There are these two remnants of the old
Temple Guard.
Jedi Temple Guards. One is this blind guy played by Donnie Yen, and the other is
basically Zatoichi.
Yeah, it's basically Zatoichi. He's Jedi Zatoichi is basically what he is. But he doesn't have a lightsaber. He just
has a staff.
The main thing he's got is he's got the ability.
A bowcaster.
Yeah, he basically has the ability to see, to see without seeing, and to see he has Jedi reflexes.
Yeah.
He also seems to have a good sense of people.
Yeah.
The
Force is strong
people.
with him, but that's not the same as being quote unquote Force sensitive as far as we know.
It's obvious that he has no idea how to use the Force, but he's definitely someone where if the Jedi Academy were around, he could be trained very easily.
Oh yeah, very easily. Yeah, extremely talented. And the other dude is a heavy weapons guy.
That guy's awesome.
Oh yeah, and these two dudes have been friends for fucking ever.
It's a major Hollywood movie that has two major Asians.
Yeah. The Star Wars universe now has two major Asian heroes in it, and
great heroic moments.
Oh my God, yeah. It's they're really really cool.
Yeah.
And the blind guy has this constant thing he keeps saying throughout the movie is that the Force is with him. The Force is with him. Yeah. And it's why he gets out of danger all the time. So he has this moment at the end where he has to walk across this battlefield where there's explosions and people shooting and everything to get to this one switch so he can pull it so the guy can get the signal up to the rebel ships above.
Yeah.
And he's just walking just slowly across the field chanting that while holding his staff and makes it across. And it's such a moment from a martial arts movie.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think the truth is I don't know if it's the Force. I think just the stormtroopers can't shoot for shit.
Well, I will say this. The fact that the stormtroopers scoffed at the blind guy with the stick, I'm like, those guys have never seen a martial arts movie.
Don't fuck with that guy.
Don't fuck with
We also got to see actual sneaking around.
Yeah, people doing sneaky spy stuff.
Yeah, we got Metal Gear fucking Star Wars for a period of this movie, and it was really cool.
Yeah, God, that heavy weapons guy. He's he does something you didn't.
I love how over all of this bullshit he is. And yet he's
well, the thing is, he actually has the greatest superpower in all of Star Wars, the heavy weapons guy, which is the ability to shoot things with deadly accuracy.
Yes!
He never misses. No, he never misses a shot.
And he's got a heavy repeating rifle and every single shot.
And I love his relationship with the blind guy, because the blind guy is always the Force is with me, that's why I made it out of there. He's like, no, the Force, you made it out of there because I shot all the guys that were trying to shoot you.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, but if
but if the Force wasn't there to guide you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and of course, by the end of the movie, when his friend's dying, like he starts to accept the Force. And
Yeah,
it's just like the Force is with me.
The Force is with me.
You know. Then he goes on a rampage because fuck you killed my friend. Like,
yeah. Oh man, so good.
You know, and then there's the pirate, the pilot that
oh god,
the
defector who defected
Riz
Empire.
Ahmed's character.
Yeah, he's a
Bodhi.
TIE fighter pilot
Bodhi.
who
he's not a TIE
defected.
fighter pilot. He is a cargo ship pilot.
Cargo ship
pilot.
Yeah, he's
okay.
that's why he was able to get through the
Somebody kept thinking
Imperial
he was a
shield
TIE
because
fighter
he knew.
pilot. You know?
Yeah, no, TIE fighter pilots are different. I think he was, because he knew the proper protocols for getting through the shield.
That's true. He did know the cargo
that's
ship.
right.
protocols.
Okay, yeah, that does
That's a
make
good
a lot
point.
more sense.
That's
Yeah.
a good point. That character was pretty cool, and at first, like I said, I mixed him up with another character just because they looked similar enough, and it was cutting so fast between some of their scenes.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
they both have like vaguely European accents.
Yeah, well,
you
because
know?
like you have one where this guy goes into this into this place and like gets the information about the Death Star they're building and all that stuff, and then he shoots and he escapes, and then it cuts to that guy meeting a rebel leader, and I was like, wait, is that the same guy? No, it's two different characters at two different locations. I just completely I completely mixed it up.
He was mixing up Cassian with both.
Yeah.
But we had only
Now you can
just
probably
met.
tell just by us talking about it. This movie's really complicated.
Yes.
Well, it's got a lot of moving parts, especially in the
it
first
does,
act.
and that's
where
what I
it's
meant
got
by
a-
like
Yeah.
one of the actual criticisms you could lay on it is that the fantasy epic is kind of at odds with the war story.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Because you've got because there are tons of time when a dude dies only to give you exposition because you need to get this information across, but in order to make sure you know there's a war, motherfucker gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
And you're just sort of like, this guy gives exposition. This guy gets shot too.
Absolutely.
All right, his only point was to tell us this one thing, which in a war movie kind of works, but like in a fantasy epic, it takes getting used to.
Well, it does, but I think that by the time you but again, once you get through that and the war movie kind of kicks into high gear.
Yeah. Once you're in the second half, it's just like bam.
Once you're in the part where they're saving Private Ryan, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes. First, they have to learn about Private Ryan.
Yes.
But yeah.
You know, though in Private Ryan in this case is the Death Star plans.
Yes.
Oh man, I enjoyed. I kind of like. They didn't need to do this, but I was totally okay with them doing it. I never had trouble with the whole shoot this thing and the whole Death Star blows up.
Yeah.
I never had trouble with that. But in this movie,
Star
what they
Wars fans have been
established,
bitching about it for years.
I'll bitch about anything. But the thing that fucking
True.
Not wrong.
yeah, the thing that I kind of liked about this is he goes no, it's not a design flaw. It's a self-destruct that I put in secretly because someone has to stop this thing.
Well, what I like about it is they basically made the guy who designed the Death Star weapon he's like Einstein.
Yeah, Einstein or Oppenheimer.
Yeah, where it's I created this awful evil weapon, but what have I done?
Yeah.
You know,
how do I stop it?
And so he takes the best of the bad options and learns to lie, which he says that he couldn't do before, but he knew they were going to make it with or without him, so he's like, if I work on it, I can at least sabotage it.
Yeah, I can sabotage
and I gotta say, Gareth Edwards working on Godzilla completely prepared him to do the nuclear bomb imagery in this. Because they definitely go full bore with that nuclear explosion kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even because it's so big, it looks like it's moving slowly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like a wall. There's no horizon. Remember?
Yeah, the one thing that they do is that the Death Star is not at the stage of its development where it instantly vaporizes shit.
It's at the early stages. And
these are test firings to.
Because I believe in A New Hope is when they're supposed to first blow up a planet for the first time.
Yeah, that's when they're just go full bore.
So they couldn't blow up planets with it here, but they could have it destroy cities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it worked, and it makes these great imageries and the great set pieces.
They can blast an entire continent into a crater.
Yeah.
And it's quite awe-inspiring to watch.
And I gotta say, this movie's fucking beautiful.
It is stunningly gorgeous. The Death Star eclipse that precedes the first time it fires, just it's terrifying and beautiful, and when the Death Star shows up in the last act, and you see it from planet level, and
I do have one weird criticism, though.
Yeah?
I feel like Forrest Whitaker was, like, overacting a tad.
Yes.
In some of his scenes. I like Forrest Whitaker, but he felt like he was in a completely different movie when he was on screen.
Well, they were trying to set him up as kind of, I think they were trying to set him up as kind of a parallel to Darth Vader. He's like the Rebels version of Vader, the one who's the...
I can kind of see that.
Yeah. He's the dark side.
Yeah, there was even a little ghost of Vader's breathing when he would...
Yeah, because he's got the thing.
There was just something about the way he was interacting with people where I'm just like, everyone else is kind of, I don't want to say understated, but they just feel like they're a little more down to earth than he was when he was on screen, because maybe that was the point. He was supposed to be crazy.
Yeah, maybe.
But there was something about him when he talked where I'm just like, you feel like you're in a different movie for some reason. I don't know why.
I know what you mean, because like they have to go through. This is one of those moments where I was talking about, like, this is where we get an exposition dump.
And that could be just clunky exposition.
Yeah, because that's mainly what he exists to do.
Yeah.
But he's built up in the prologue as an extremely important character to the story, but it turns out he's just a really important character to Jin, and we don't get to see any of that.
Yeah.
And that
almost could have done this whole thing without that subplot of him.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was because they needed him as a way... They needed to need him, and they needed a way into... in order to bring Jin into the plot. Kind of, because she was the only person
she comes into the plot through her father.
Well, yeah, but she's not going to work with the rebellion, and the way they get she needed. God.
Well, you could have easily had done. Look, we know they have your father. Help us get your father. But they secretly want to kill him.
Yeah.
And they don't tell her.
That tension was well done.
And they could have just done that and not had the extra father figure.
Yeah.
That being said, it didn't bother me too much. It was just one of those things.
It doesn't ruin the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you just sort of... You're like, maybe this script needed... The first half of the script needed another pass or something.
Just maybe a little bit.
Well, they wanted her to know how to fight.
True.
Yeah.
And they wanted her to... And maybe it was because of the timelines that they were dealing with. They're like, there's going to be this gap between when she's like 8 years old and when she takes off on her own, where she needs to like she needs.
I get it,
space.
But I feel like if you start with her escaping them taking her father.
Yeah.
And then the next time we see her, she's in jail for something. So we know she's lived a rough life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can probably get the idea that at some point she had to learn to fight for herself.
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of your big criticisms for Rey, though?
Well, my problem with Rey was that she became adept at the Force with no established training. Now, granted, it might turn out she had training given her flashbacks and stuff like that. But, like, Luke, for example, could only trust the Force by the end of the first movie. Whereas by the end of the first movie with her, she's already, like, using Jedi mind tricks, something that they didn't even establish she knew existed.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, but that's talking about Force Awakens.
That's talking about Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Force Awakens. I'm more talking about, in this movie, had they established those things, it's like, I had to learn to fight on my own. I would have totally got that. Kind of like
totally.
I already accepted the fact that Rey could fly things and kick ass on her own based on what they established her life was like.
Yeah, being a scavenger.
Exactly.
Like, okay, she's got to be able to punch dudes who are going to try to steal
and know how
her.
mechanical things work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise she's not going to know what to scavenge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now,
she can't drag an entire Star Destroyer back to the...
No.
Now, had, like, this
she
movie...
needs to know where the good stuff is.
To me, it would have been the equivalent if in this movie, the main character, by the end of it, just out of nowhere, force lightning the bad guy. Just like, wait... How does she know how to do that? Like,
yeah. That would have been a harder sell.
Yeah,
couldn't really have done that, But yeah.
But that's talking about my problems with Force Awakens. But like, neither of those movies, in my opinion, are perfect. But I love both of them.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I just
Let's talk about that robot. We haven't
the robot!
Right.
Holy shit!
Was it K2?
K2SO.
K2SO. That robot was awesome.
A reprogrammed Imperial droid.
Well, I love that robot because he feels like something out of Hitchhiker's Guide.
He does.
Yeah.
Just a snarky, like kind of mean-spirited.
I was waiting for him to call somebody a meatbag.
Yeah.
He never did.
He's very reminiscent of like of HK227 from Knights of the Old Republic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. I love that character more than anyone. The moment like his time comes, I'm sitting there going like, no, don't kill the robot. Don't kill the robot with the heart of coal.
Yeah.
Though he does have a heart of gold by the end of it.
Yeah.
But he starts off with like a coal heart.
Yeah.
But I love that guy.
Yeah. Well, it's the first time we actually had like a how to put it, like he's very different from R2D2 or C3PO.
Yeah.
Well,
very
different.
different.
It's like they combined elements of C3PO and Chewbacca and just narky comic relief. And combined them together. And it worked. It is a completely different character, and I also liked that it was a different looking droid than usual.
Yeah. Well, he was built to be a war machine.
Yeah.
And that's a new thing for, that we haven't, we've seen them in the background, but never up close.
And it's nice, unlike the prequels, seeing droids that actually function as war machines.
Yeah.
Because in the prequels, it seemed like these are supposed to be war droids, but they seem ineffective.
They seem useless. They're totally useless.
Whereas this one, you're like, oh no, that one's big, it's intimidating, it could punch your head off. Like it's
it's picking dudes up and throwing them around, and it can fly the ship. And
it can fly ships. It can fire a gun.
It can speak to computers.
Absolutely.
It's very useful. It's well done, K2SO.
It's a great character. I also kind of like that this had a more like Empire Strikes Back kind of darker tone to it.
It did.
Yeah.
It didn't go full on like Man of Steel, like darkness. But it was definitely like of the Empire Strikes Back variety, where it's still an adventure story. There's still all this stuff going on, but it's a little more realer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are dying. Like we said, it's a suicide mission.
Yes, in the very literal sense. Total party kill. Everybody dies.
Even the extra guys
dies.
they get at the end.
Yeah.
They're all gone.
Everyone's dead.
Yeah, the entire fleet's destroyed.
I do like the moment where they name themselves Rogue One. That was a really funny moment.
Bodhi just kind of makes it up off the top of his
head.
It's like,
what squadron are you with? We're Rogue One? There is no Rogue One. Well, there is now. Click.
Yes.
Yeah. Rogue and by the time they get to fucking New Hope, Rogue One is Wedge Antilles call sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the rogue leader.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they kept using I think the implication is supposed to be that they kept using the call sign in honor of the...
And I love how at the end of the movie, like the admiral that's running the fleet that comes to help them when they realize when the Alliance realizes what they're doing. Like one of the admirals is like, fuck it, I'm going.
Yeah.
And he brings his whole fleet there, and so they have this giant space war as well as a ground war going on. And I love that he does not think twice to call them, like, it's like, we read you, Rebel One. Like, we read you, Rogue One. Rogue One, yeah. We read you, Rogue One. And it's just like, oh man, just full on acceptance. Like, just...
Yeah. He's just like, I see a thing. They're doing a thing. I'm going to help them do the thing.
The funny thing is I was kind of the whole time going, why isn't this just Admiral Akbar?
It could have been Admiral Akbar, and it would have been fine.
Yeah,
but I think the way it ends is why it's not Admiral Akbar.
Which is everyone in that fucking battle is killed.
Yeah. Well, Admiral Akbar in Legends, it hasn't been established in canon yet, and might never be. But in Legends, the reason Admiral Akbar was such a valuable rebel asset is that for a while. I mean, he was a
defector.
He was a Mon Calamari commander who was captured by the Empire and kept as Grand Moff Tarkin's personal slave.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And so as a result, and Tarkin would kind of run strategies by him, would kind of use him as a idea sounding board. So on one hand, that was like, he finally escaped, when Tarkin was killed and Akbar escaped and joined the rebellion for rebellion.
Yeah.
So, again, that's Legends material.
Yeah. Who knows if it'll become canon?
Who knows if it'll become canon, but if it still informs their idea of Admiral of Akbar, then that would explain why he's not here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Tarkin's got him in a cage somewhere.
The way fucking Edwards filmed some of this stuff, the way they put it together was so good.
I continue to be in love with the way he makes movies.
Yeah.
Like,
The
even
sense of scale, the very first time the AT-ATs show up,
Yes.
just like...
Like, holy shit. Like, I love Empire Strikes Back, but I was never terrified of those things until I'm watching this movie and they're coming on
and
their
they're like
soldiers.
coming right at
Whoa.
you.
And you know, and you're like,
and
oh shit, without like a speeder, without like a ship, how do you fight one of those things? And you see one of them like shoot a rocket at it, and it's like it got punched in the face, and it just keeps on coming.
Yeah.
You're just like, holy shit, you know, coming over the trees. Like, for some reason, the trees was scarier than when it was in the snow. Cause
because of the scale.
It gives you that sense of scale.
It's like something out of Vietnam War or something, you know? I also liked that, like, it was really interesting seeing a tropical setting for that one planet.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah. It's like a beach, like an archipelago.
And I kind of like that. It made it like the storming the beaches
of Normandy and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it increased like the Vietnam vibe that you're getting.
Absolutely. You know, oh god, man. It's one of those things, despite all the problems, like, I loved huge chunks of this movie, and I love that second half.
Well, it's got the thing going where if it can get you caring about the central struggle and caring about the characters, then you'll forgive, like, plot holes or leaps of logic or weaknesses earlier.
Well, it's
earlier on.
Definitely some structural weaknesses.
It's like The Force Awakens probably holds together better as an overall movie. It's got a nice beginning, middle, and end that all completely tie into one another.
Yeah.
But the end of this movie, like when she's climbing that thing and they're shooting at her and the guy, like
and not only that, but that's happening like right as the main characters are starting to die.
Like I was so.
And so like he gets hit, he falls.
Yeah.
She's got to. Like, she sees his prone body, and she has to keep going, and you're like, oh my goodness, this could really come down to the wire.
Like, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, so tense and on the edge of my seat in a way I wasn't in Force Awakens, even though I love that movie, because I realized in that moment, like, oh shit, unlike Force Awakens, these characters might not make it.
Yeah. Well, like, it was so weird. It was so weird, like, watching fucking, like, I was, like, you know, after all that happens, and Darth Vader is, like, running through, not even running through, moving through the corridor, swatting dudes down. I'm
bugs.
Yeah,
like,
it's one of those, like, you look back at Force Awakens and you're like, yeah, you're right, Kylo Ren, you are not Darth Vader.
you don't have that swagger.
No. Not at all.
Kylo, you're a little bitch.
Yeah.
He got the moves like Vader.
Let's hashtag that. Hashtag little bitch Kylo.
Oh, man. Dude, no. Just, he fucking throwing that one guy up to the ceiling. I was immediately like, oh, crap, it's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I'm not getting over this. I'm not getting over, like, that feeling of, oh, shit, it's Darth Vader.
Yeah, no.
That being said,
man.
Kylo still more intimidating than Anakin.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, like, you feel, like, Kylo Ren proved it. He's gonna fucking kill a dude.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren tries really hard.
Yeah.
Darth Vader doesn't have to.
No, he doesn't.
Well, yeah, that's the problem with Anakin. Even though you can have younger Darth Vader, you can have young Anakin kill all the children you want. You're still not afraid of him.
Yeah.
But the thing is I can see Kylo.
You met him when he was like this little blonde moppet who loves fast cars and his mommy, and it's really hard to go from that to.
I find it hilarious because the reason why he likes fast cars is because that's what little George Lucas did. So George Lucas made himself Anakin, which is hilarious in retrospect.
Yeah.
When you think about it. Dun, 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 dun. But
that's not even like because he's evil. It's just the sound the floor makes because he's a fat ass.
We love you, George Lucas. But
oh yeah.
Yes, we do.
But even with Kylo, you could see how he could become a Vader-like figure with time, whereas Anakin, you just can't see it at all.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Because with Kylo, when he has the mask on, he has at least a presence.
Yeah.
With Anakin, like, even when he puts the mask on at the end of the movie, no! It's like,
what the hell? It's like I said, like, just having him say a fucking awful just that awful dark sense of humor Darth Vader actually has that Anakin didn't have in the prequels at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's especially in his scene with Krennic, where it's just he's just there to dominate the shit out of this guy, and he's like, "You think you're a big guy? Let me bring you down to like."
Let me explain this to you, and of course, like, even with that said,
like, you're playing with powers you don't really understand what's at stake.
And even
here.
but even Vader, and they kept this, which is even Vader essentially works for Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah. And it is very fascinating because it is nice to see a Star Wars movie that kind of establishes why Vader was such an imposing figure. Because we now have this is a Star Wars movie where there is no Jedi. There is no one to counteract him. There's no Ben Kenobi. There's no Luke. There's no Rey.
Yeah.
There's no one like that. There is just the rebels fighting against a force that they cannot compete against.
Yeah, no. I mean, I believe even our whole... You know who might have been able to take him?
Mm-hmm.
If Cherith Emaway, the blind monk, him with a lightsaber.
If he was given if he was given the chance to properly hone his Jedi skills, yes.
Yeah, but
because you could tell he was a natural.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you
then
could also
then
tell
he'd
that
just
he
be
was
a Jedi.
That's true.
Right.
Jedi.
But he was also no Jedi.
And that's the real tragedy. He died before the Jedi came back.
Yeah.
He would have been an amazing Jedi. So I don't know. Is there any final thoughts anyone has? Like,
oh man,
I really recommend the movie. But with the caveat of if the movie looks like it's going to fall apart at any moment when you start watching it, do not despair. It all comes together.
Hang in there.
Things start to fall together.
Yeah. All falls into place.
Basically, as soon as they get off Jeddah, you're gonna.
As soon as they get off there, the plot starts to really. There is a really kind of a hokey moment where they give the inspirational speech.
Yeah,
there's more than one inspirational speech.
Yeah.
But what I liked about that one speech she gives to the council is that they didn't take it.
Yeah,
because I'm sitting there going like, okay, I love this character. She's grown a lot over the course of this movie, but she has not reached the point where they're just going to listen to her.
Right, and
they don't.
They don't. But in the end, it worked on the only person it needed to work on, which was Cassian.
Yeah,
absolutely. So
because after that, he was able to go to his guys and say, "Dudes, I think we should do
I just realized this movie is kind of about a Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. It's also a little
they know
clunky.
they're not getting out of it.
All right, any final thoughts for you?
My final thoughts on Rogue One. On one hand, I think that it's proven that Star Wars has legs in new ways. Like, not everything has to be like an episode movie. There is room in the universe, in the Star Wars universe, to tell different kinds of stories.
And after seeing some of these young characters, I'm like, okay, you guys want to do young Han Solo? I'll watch it.
Yeah. Well, we could Star Trek it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Well, what's interesting is that they're clearly going to be looking at the reception to this movie versus Han Solo, which has a pair of comedy writers at its center and has it seems like it's going to go for more of the swashbuckling tone,
which is perfect for Han Solo.
Right, it's perfect for Han Solo, and it's also almost as polar opposite of the tone of this movie as you can get.
Yes, which it makes sense because this is supposed to be the war movie.
Yes, and I like that they were kind of simultaneously coming at that from very different angles.
Yes.
Like they've got.
Well, it's nice to show that Star Wars can exist in different colors.
Yeah.
It doesn't all have to be this one same kind of thing.
Actually, there was one thing that I noticed.
Okay.
Which was, I don't know why this happened. And this is a really dumb thing to bring up. But the soundtrack. It was always just not quite John Williams. Which I thought was really odd because you're listening to it and you're like, oh, okay, and this is where you're going to play the dun 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 dun. Oh, wait, we're playing this. Wait, what's going on?
I actually love that because it was not a proper Star Wars movie, so they only brought up those themes when those characters showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did have original themes. Krennic's theme had the ghost of the Imperial March in it without being the
Yeah, whereas
Imperial
the actual
March.
Imperial March shows up when Darth Vader shows up.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that was a great way to do it. Because then it gave it its own identity without relying on the themes created for Luke and stuff like that.
Yeah. That wouldn't have worked for this.
The theme for the Force shows up a few times, like the
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. I mean, I don't know if anyone. I don't know if you. Let's put it this way: this movie may not be appropriate for all small children everywhere.
Oh no, take your kids.
Yeah, take kids. Take a 7-year-old.
I saw Empire Strikes Back as a kid and put hair in my balls.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. You kids can handle Jedi and fucking Wrath of Khan.
Well, it's not even
and
rated
fucking-
R.
Yeah, it's still PG-13.
You know.
But motherfuckers gonna die.
People die.
You say people gonna die? Yeah, people
gets
gonna die.
blown up.
Oh
We're
man,
gonna fight for and against state rights to blow up planets real good.
Fight the space Nazis.
Nazis. We got fight the space Nazis. That's what you do.
That would have been amazing if fucking like that one
Fucking have the bear Jew actually beat Chewbacca.
Yeah. The bear chew.
The bear Jew. Yeah.
Or fighting space nuts.
Oh man.
Anyway, my final thoughts are: it is a great time to be a Star Wars fan, and this is another solid entry in the Star Wars universe, which is nice after 3 shitty movies. So go out there if you like Star Wars, check it out. If you're new to Star Wars, you'll probably like this one. It's a little different from the other ones, but it's got its own flavor. And take your kids. And I guess with that, peace out, everyone.
Peace.